Welcome to Season 3 of the Builders Podcast. I'm Matt Levenhagen. Here we share the journeys, strategies, and lessons that help entrepreneurs build what's next. Builders helping builders. Enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by Tyler Dane. Welcome to the show, Tyler.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, Tyler, you are the founder of Productivity App. You've been a programmer for many years, over a decade or a decade and a half or something like that. And you're building stuff in the world today, which we'll get into today. But before, we're just going to get into it. We're going to talk about your story, see where that takes us, see what you've been all up to, and maybe some philosophies around life and all that good stuff. Who knows where we'll end up?
Sure.
But with that, what we're going to start with is just tell us a little bit about yourself, your origin story, how you entered into this world of programming and everything you're doing today, what led up to that. I'll throw it to you.
Plan A was to be a lawyer. And then I was taking my LSATs, and just in between then, I got a job in IT. And I was like, this is really fun. And so then I gave myself a year to be like, am I good at this? Could this actually work out? Was this just like a fling? I joined a startup as like the sysadmin, and I was hooked. Like, they were having so much fun. And at the time, I was also working at a law firm as like their IT guy. So I saw both worlds. I talked to the lawyers, I talked to the programmers, and like the programmers and the tech people were just way happier.
Way happier
compared to the law firm, I was working at. And so I'm like, okay, I know where I'm going to go. So then from there, it was just a matter of how do I find the right fit for me. So I didn't like sysadmin and IT at some point because you're always on call, and like there's a disaster waiting around every turn, and that stressed me out after a few years. So then I got into programming from beginning with back-end development, and then I moved my way to front end, which is where I've been specializing the last few years.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it can be stressful. Even I run a web design agency, and we do maintenance. And I have some clients that $1 million businesses, and I'm a little too much on call. Like, I'm their guy. If something goes down, or there's some major issue or some integration they need or whatever, and it's always critical. Like, in fact, today I got a critical thing that I'm trying to figure out in between doing podcasting. But yeah, so I mean,
how often, since you've been doing the agency for a while, I wonder, you're kind of at a high level with your execution, I'm guessing. How often does it still happen where you're on call and like there's an oh shit moment and you have to jump on it?
it's not too often. One of my biggest clients, been with me for like 5 years, and over time you put systems in place, you keep things up to date, you maintain them, but yeah, once in a while something happens, or there was an update that you didn't realize disabled something in the checkout, or that was a recent one where suddenly express checkout isn't there anymore. So those type of things can happen, but you just deal with it. I think a lot of it, right, is process. You have to trust. Troubleshooting's a whole thing. Like, that's an art form, right? You got to know where to start, where you're looking for logs, where you got to feel confident you could roll things back if things go sideways. So a lot of it's just building the systems around it, so you're not quite as stressed. It still can be very stressful, especially when sales are coming in every hour and you have to.
Oh, man. And there's the project manager or the founder behind you, like watching you appear and asking you what you're doing. And the worst part's when you don't know the root cause, because they're all asking you and you're like, I don't know. And you feel like an idiot for not knowing, but it's like you can't focus enough to figure it out because your logs are all over, your processes are. I get it. So that wasn't for me after a while. It was really getting to me, keeping me up at night.
Yeah, I mean, and you get it. So it can be stressful, and it depends on who you're working with too, though. I mean, if you have good clients, they're just going to leave it. They're going to trust you, especially if you've put out fires before, or if they have a lot of confidence in you. So they'll just kind of leave you to the job, and then you communicate well. But anyway, back to you. So you're doing that. That's kind of the interesting thing about, especially when you're starting out. I was surprised to hear that you were thinking about getting into law and all that, but that's how you figure it out, though. Like, you try different things and you kind of do kind of a personal assessment, like, "What do I enjoy?
Mhm.
What do I?" Because that's really important, isn't it? Like, you can't just do something just for the money or for the fame or whatever.
Yeah.
You have to do something that you can get a passion around.
Yeah, and it takes time to know what you're good at and what you're passionate about and also what's available to you. So I studied history and German. I was a liberal arts guy, and I always had it in my head like I'm bad at math because I tested poorly. So I just on paper wasn't good at it, and I had all these narratives in my head about how I couldn't do STEM. And then I got these IT jobs, and then I was sitting next to the programmers and seeing like what they actually do. And what we do is work in logic. It's if this, then that. It should do this, root cause, reverse, the logic. If C, B, A to C, right? It's like basic arithmetic, really. So it's not
Yeah,
like calculus or crazy stuff. And once I actually saw that for myself, I was like, I could actually like do that. Like, for the first time, it became clear that I could do other things than the kind of departments that are taught in school, since I would have never qualified for the software engineering advanced programming class in school. But I wouldn't have known that if I wasn't just in environments and
right.
trying stuff out, to your point.
Good at math. Yeah, it's really, I mean, programming is just it's not like you're unless you're like down in the weeds and working on algorithms and the
Right.
actual machine learning or like, whatever that really technical stuff. Really most of programming or web development is, yeah, like you said, logic. And if you have the brain, that's kind of a your brain still has to be made for being able to map things and see things. And like, I think one of my superpowers is like I'm a very visual person at the same time, and so I can visualize systems in my head,
Mhm.
or I can, I was kind of I'm like if you show me something, you do, let's say you are in a browser and you 10 steps, you click this, you click that button, you go over here, you do this, go to this page, and I'll remember that the first time. A lot of times, so I remember where things are. So, like, if I had an issue, it's very easy for me to remember what that issue was. But that's not everybody can do that.
Mhm.
So cool. So you got into so why did you kind of move into front end? Do you enjoy that part
I
better?
wanted independence, and I noticed with IT, when you're in IT, you need to be with an established company, right? Like you don't
Mm,
start with no startup is like, let's hire an IT guy right away. And so I had to be in the office and next to the servers. And this was a few years ago, but still.
yeah,
And then with the back end, same thing. You needed like an established business. Like you don't just ship a back end, like you ship a product. And I realized that like full stack, you can do more of that yourself. And so that's where I stuck, where I could like ship my own apps and products and get them out there without as much permission. And then there's just so much that was going on with the front end, like so much complexity. I thought that was like really, really interesting. Whereas with the back end, it felt like there was a lot to actually make it work that last mile, making it performant, all the tests, all the connectors, etc. But just the complexity of the front end with the UI and the interaction with the users, like you get to talk to them and show them a lot. You get to interact with designers who like know the science underneath why colors work or why these layouts work.
yeah.
And you get to interact with the back end people. I thought I really liked that combination.
Gotcha. So let's take a moment. Do you want to, for somebody that's listening that's not really technical, like, what's the difference
Sure.
between like back end and front end? Can you explain
Yeah,
that?
yeah, sorry. So backend is like the server or like the brains behind the system. Like when you're going to your bank, and the backend knows the database, the numbers in your account, like how much you have. And the front end is like the website where you sign in on, and it's the colors and it's how it's laid out and is it intuitive. And then those two talk to each other in a cohesive way.
Yeah, like it can pull information from the back
Mhm.
end or The front end. Yeah. Yeah. I come from more front end myself, but as the agency has gone on over the years, I've sunk further and further into the back end
Mm,
because it's easier to get people. I find it easier to find developers to do front end stuff than back
yeah,
end,
yeah.
or back end's like a little bit more. It's not you all the time for
Mhm.
us. So anyway, so cool. So you were working for companies, and then did you start creating your own products, your own software?
Yeah.
What did you
I
do there?
was I was with one company, and they were bigger, a couple hundred, and so they had a small sub company. They call it like an incubator, or they call it like an idea lab, or innovation center. Is what they called ours, and it was like basically just two of us, away from all the other programmers, and our job was to build upon what the other programmers had done. So the other programmers, like they create the real products, they create the APIs, or just think of like the Lego blocks that you can pull and make your own creations. And then us two, we took all those Lego blocks and we created just a bunch of stuff, like just experimenting. And a
Oh,
lot of it
fun.
flopped, and a lot of it actually was cool. So the stuff that was cool, we gave to our clients for free, from the company, and they loved it. But that gave me confidence from just like making stuff from scratch myself,
Mm,
almost too much confidence, because what I didn't appreciate is that in that incubator, I had more support than I realized. I had the marketing, I had the company or the client base. They were already interested in the product. Like we
right.
didn't have to sell anything to them. They're already buying from us. I had the
Yeah.
R&D, I had the product man. Like I had basically everything. I just had to build, and I didn't appreciate that. So then I was like, I'm out of here. I'm gonna make my own stuff. And then I did that, but it just took a lot more time, and it was a lot more complicated than I thought. But that's the start of when I started going off on my own, and how I got the chutzpah to try to do that.
And did you do it on the side, or did you do it? You just left and started
A
doing it.
little on the side, but then I really wanted to go to Montana and like rock climb, and so I was like, "This, I'm just gonna go out there, rock climb during the day, and then I'll code at night." And
Nice. That's the dream. Yeah.
yeah, it was cool. It was cool, but like I was saying, um, and like there's a whole new skill set that you don't appreciate when you're on your own, sales, validating ideas, and a lot of the skills that I built becoming a good programmer worked against me when it came to being a good businessman. And so I went through a
Yeah.
whole period where it was a lot of hard lessons around that.
Well, yeah. So, and I've built products over the years. I did a lot of digital products back in the day, 15, 20 years ago. But also saw, like in my world, plugins, WordPress plugins and stuff. I had a plugin marketplace I had a themes marketplace too for a while, but I was the agency took most of my time and effort. So I didn't have a lot of time to do the marketing that was needed and sales that was needed to really build those businesses and eventually phase them out. But I tried.
Mhm.
but I liked the building part. I enjoyed building this stuff. And so I just kept building, but then you don't have time to actually market it. But
How do you structure that now? Do you just do the building, or sorry, the client stuff, or do you still carve out for building?
I, for a a number of years in this agency, I would always have projects going. Okay, so I built a team, and I had, at our peak we had like a dozen people on the team, but probably average 5, 6, 7 people. And the way I structured it, for a number of years, was so I had the themes business. That's a whole long story, but I had a theme marketplace with like 100 themes, and maintain that and everything. But then I got wanted to get into plugins, so I started Unified Plugins. And so we started with one plugin and another plugin. And what I did was I would come up with the idea, what we wanted to build, and then so when my team wasn't working on client work, there was some downtime, there was some just in between stuff, or if we just squeeze it in, we in the same we do with our own websites. I would set up a little project, go build this feature or build this plugin for us, or so I had the team build stuff in between things. So
Mm.
that's kind of how that worked. But yeah, so which is good and bad because the thing about that and the lesson about that is that even though when you have somebody and you're not selling these plugins, we weren't really selling a lot of these plugins yet. We had a few customers, but we weren't really making a measurable revenue, right? And so when I have somebody on that, that's not revenue generating. So I'm paying somebody, if I pay somebody a month to go work on a plugin, I'm paying them a month. That's investment in that plugin
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
future revenue. And then if you never make anything of it, yeah. So kind of a lot of money went down the tubes, I thought it was always someday,
Mm.
once we get these built, we built like 5 or 6 plugins. Once we get these built, then we'll market it. And then the agency, then we get big clients, big projects, partnerships and things. And we never get to it.
Would you have structured it the same way and just executed differently, or do you think there's a different way to go about that?
I think I would have been more thoughtful instead of, I still have some, ideas around plugins. I'm an entrepreneur. I all kinds of ideas, right? I have like uh parts of our project management system where it's like a brainstorm board. I just drop in ideas. But I think I would be more focused. I would have chosen one type of plugin and I would have built it and made it awesome.
Hmm.
And I played with that idea a little bit, but I was like, no, let's I have 5 or 6 plugins. These will cover all these different, because one of the things I was doing as well, and this was part of my strategy. I feel like I'm talking a lot here.
No,
Um,
that's selfishly why I'm here. I wanna hear.
you're here to you're here to
I'm here to
talk to
learn.
me.
Yeah.
Um, but one of the things that my strategies was that we were using these for our own client sites. So I actually didn't think that was part of how I could justify it, because I'm like, I want, like, I built a plugin called Unified Toolkit, which was just a collection of little features and stuff that I would use, not on the front end or anything, just stuff that it's for the WordPress admin, things that I, use on a regular basis, but you gotta, instead of having to install 5 different plugins, I would just have it all in one plugin
Mm.
and not bloat it, just the things I needed, right?
Mhm.
And I built it for myself first, and then, but at the same time, it's like, well, should I have just focused on that one plugin? Should I focus on that pop-up plugin we had, or the MailChimp plugin we had?
Mm.
But the lesson there, I would probably have tried to become, whether it was a membership plugin or whatever it was, something that was really useful. And then all my marketing goes around that, and all the energy goes around that, and just become a real expert in that niche. And then once that plugin becomes successful, then maybe I can build other things, but
Mhm.
build the list, build the business there first. So yeah, I just feel like we were a little too spread out.
Yeah. Oh, I
Too many
resonate
ideas.
with that a lot. Yep. It's a real temptation, especially now when it's so easy to build. You can just build everything, and it's hard to stand out when everyone's building everything, and it's all like a level 6 to 7 quality. And if it's not 8, 9, 10, even if it's narrow, it's hard to break out.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, how did you, kind of, when you got into trying to build your own stuff, what were some of those lessons that you learned when you were getting started out? I mean, you have to learn business, you have to learn marketing, sales,
Yeah.
right?
I learned the classic lessons. I'll start with those first, which is one, no broke customers. I was broke. I had that mindset. And so I was just like, let me solve my problems. But I had broke person problems and solving other broke people problems. And even if I solve them well, who wins? They can't pay for it. So I can't keep making
That's
it.
true.
And so then
That's true.
then I'd have to get another job just to solve the problem for free for them. And then I get resentful, and it's like, okay, don't do that anymore. Then I made the mistake of just building whatever I wanted and not bringing more people into it to shape the vision sooner. So
To
to
validate the idea, or to like, or
like I with the an earlier version of what I'm building now, I'm building like a calendar and a to-do app for developers. Initially, it was like a calendar to-do app for, they call them bullet journalists, or people who organize their day in notebooks. So it's like they're in the analog world, they love notebooks, but they have to exist in the digital world. um, digital calendars, Zoom links, just life. Um, so they want a product that's kind of in between. And I would just go all out on all the quirky ways I wanted it to work, but I wouldn't give them a seat at the table because it's all
Mm.
about me. I was self-funding it. I didn't appreciate their feedback enough. And so then it just had like too many weird quirks. Whereas like even if you bought into the vision, unless you worked exactly how I worked, it didn't really make sense for you.
All right. So you weren't thinking about like how you weren't inquiring how they actually worked and would use the tool
Mhm.
or seeing or getting that feedback.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really valuable.
just getting more feedback and being willing to listen to it. And I think that's I've made that mistake multiple times. And I think it comes down to the gist of being selfish, like doing it for your own reasons, for your own pleasure, instead of starting with how do I help other people? Because if I start with how do I help other people, I have to talk to other people like right
Right.
away. I have to listen to them like day one instead of building the whole thing based on what I want and then being like, if you want it, you can have it. If not, whatever, like that's
Well,
a
that's the thing.
whole
You
different
want to build
mindset.
the, yeah, you don't want to build the whole thing. You build some kind of more minimal viable and then get it in people's hands. That's the most important thing.
Hmm.
Getting users. And that was one of the things like when I was in the theme business, I had an easier time with that because I had a list. We had sold thousands of these themes and so I had a list of people so when I could poll them or we could kind of read, to get the data, what people liked and were using or what their complaints were or whatever,
Hmm.
and that was easier to listen. But like with the plugin business, I was just building it from scratch. And so I didn't have that. So that's something you got. And so if you don't have like in the beginning, how did you or you did you end up doing that? Are you are you getting feedback now? I was gonna ask you like where did you build a list? What did you do?
I did the whole guerrilla bootstrap, just get out there on the internet, talking to the void thing. I would go to some It was a lot during COVID at the time, so there wasn't so much in person, but there was virtual pitch events. I would do conference talks about like tangential issues and then be like, hey, I was just doing everything, just trying to throw it out there. But I'd say the highest converting or most efficient lead gen was YouTube and in the in-person stuff. That's how I got my
Right.
initial 1,000 or so people, but the
Nice.
problem was I didn't get the flywheel going. I didn't get a repeatable format. I didn't get a repeatable audience. It was just a lot of I spread it out too thin, and it was too confusing. It was too muddled. And then as the other content channels and things came up, it was just hard to compete with them. So another lesson just on the importance of content and up leveling that as if that's a serious way you're going to acquire people.
So
But
you were
that's
building so to
initially.
yeah, so you're to build so your strategy was to create content. You had a YouTube channel,
Hmm.
and you were doing this other thing. What was the other thing? Networking or something?
You could call it that. Posting on Hacker News, writing guest post articles on tech
Gotcha.
blogs, showing up in the comments of Reddit, just every little, you
Everything you
know,
can do.
zero
Throwing
to
it all
one
out there.
hack. Yeah, you could find out. I was trying that out.
But YouTube did that do really well for you?
A couple I mean, like, I made I made over 300 videos, and then, like, 2 or 3 of them
Oh,
did really well.
okay.
And the other, you know, 297, like, not really. And going back to my mistake, I should have just seen that sooner and been like, "Let me just double down on those 2 or 3 formats," because that's obviously working. Um,
That's tough. I had one guy. This is what was he? I think he was who was it? I don't remember who it was. I don't know if it was somebody I talked to or I saw content about, but I remember he had I think it was somebody on this podcast. Yeah. He Matthew Bigger, I think. He had a YouTube channel this is years ago and he had one blow up. But as time went on, that was the wrong market. The one
mm,
that like blew up wasn't what he was targeted on. So
mm,
he built a list of people, he built his channel around that kind of content and really he was selling to these other people. And so
yeah.
that was a
Ooh.
problem. Yeah, so gotta consider that as well.
Yeah,
But
the
sometimes it's
metrics, they're
yeah,
enticing. You wanna
Yeah,
see those numbers and they go up and you're like, "Oh, I should just keep doing this for these people," but then if they're broke again, they're not gonna pay for anything.
they're broken, and it's better to have fewer people. I'm not focused on numbers at all. I just say that because I don't have them. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I believe in the niche, right? I mean, I would rather have a narrow niche with fewer people that are buyers, that
Mhm,
are really engaged with you than have, like I've over the years, I've known people with huge lists that you could tell me you have 100,000 people on your list but they're so broad and so all over the place and not engaged that it doesn't, yeah, you'll still make some sales. But I had a small list in the 2000s. I had back then I was doing more internet marketing stuff, affiliate marketing, pay per click, and I created some products around that. And I built a list of about 5 to 10,000 people. But these people were interested in affiliate marketing and pay per click. They
mhm,
were doing that specific thing, and so
mhm,
I sold the heck out of them. I sold my own products, memberships, and affiliate products because I would find affiliate products that serve that market, promote that to the list, and make some thousands of dollars just with my affiliate links. But it was very narrow, it was very specific. It
mhm.
was and I think a lot of in times I could imagine, people having YouTube channels or social media and stuff. And yeah, you got a lot of followers, people are engaged, but they're not your market.
Yeah, yeah, that's a theme I'm hearing over and over, especially with I think the idea of the last 7 years or so was, like, have a personal brand, be a creator, be an influencer, and I don't disagree with that, but the problem is you have so many interests, and it's hard to you need someone goes to your channel, your page, and they need to know what you're about in 4 seconds or
Yeah.
they're out, and so if you have 5 interests in your last 5 videos or your last 5 posts, it's like, "What am I even gonna get when I come home from work and I'm just stressed and I wanna throw on the TV and just relax with my noodles for 20 minutes?" Like, I wanna know what I'm gonna get when
Right.
I click on someone's video, and I think that's changed in the last 5 years or so.
Yeah. So you're still doing YouTube now?
Yeah, I'm doing a new channel now where it's just, developers, specifically, like, web developers, indie developers, bootstrappers, and it's very technical. So, I've learned my lesson, and I'm making it very narrow and niche now.
Good, good. What else are you doing?
So that's part of it, making content for that. The second would be the app. Um, the that's more of like a side quest. It's kinda like your plugins story maybe, but it's at the point where it's live, but it's not profitable, and so my
Mm.
maniacal mission is to get it profitable and then see what happens next. Like, is it profitable enough to pay for everything? Who knows? Is it just something that keeps on going? We'll see. But that's the main focus outside of the content.
So you got it built,
Mhm.
and were there any challenges around building it? Or
Oh man, yeah, so many, so many technical challenges, personnel challenges, which are mostly my issues. Prioritizing.
did you build it yourself, or you have a team that or hire somebody to
I
help you?
started with myself, yeah, and then I had over the course of time probably 4 or 5 others that I worked with, all remote, all part time, and that's I could have structured it a lot better. I had made a lot of rookie mistakes around who I hired, what I expected out of them, how I um, set the bar for communication, how we checked in, everything from like micromanaging and then swinging the other way and like not having enough accountability. And it all kind of comes back to me and how I was running it. And
Yeah.
what I was saying before about not having the skills, like as a developer, I didn't have those managerial skills or that leadership or the project discipline. And so I spent a lot of time just like making the rookie mistakes around that.
And but you're good at self-correcting? Like, you see that I really like, how could I have done that better? Do you ask yourself that? Like, when something
I
goes
am now. I wasn't initially, but yeah, at some point, I'm a big fan of having some kind of thing to track against, so you don't just lie to yourself and tell yourself stories about how, oh, this is all part of the plan, or it'll flip around next month. It's like, no, I have stuff I can look at, and I'm like, this is not working, and I it's easier to correct. But I resisted the metrics and KPIs. Like, that felt really businessy and like
Mm.
corporate, and I was like trying to get away from corporate. But turns out, like, maybe they know what they're doing a little bit
Some of that
in
stuff,
the
some of
corporate
that
world.
stuff, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how they should treat it.
How do you do those things? Do you have KPIs and structure, the analytics and stuff like that?
Um, I I don't think I have a lot of like official structure around stuff. Like I think at this stage, I mean, I'm very results oriented. If things, I'll analyze, do retrospectives, if if we did something and it didn't go well, I'm going to analyze that as something I need to improve. Do I need that? Do I need, but I don't have anything structured where I on a regular basis go through and say, oh, it's time for, to look at these KPIs or this is what I'm,
Mm,
these are my goals for, maybe I should too more often, but I just kind of learn and I'm at a stage now where I feel like I've figured a lot of stuff out. Like I have made a lot of mistakes over the years. And even when you think you've learned everything, business is such that it'll say, no, you haven't learned this lesson yet. let me,
mm,
let me show you how this, you shouldn't be doing this either or
mhm,
whatever. But I don't have, I don't like, I don't have any like detailed notes about what I'm doing. But one of the things I do, and I feel like I'm picking this up from you as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you do need kind of as business people and as anyone that's like pursuing anything. Like I look back at I was an artist way back in the day, back in the '90s. And I've been recently going back. I have some old audio journals and stuff from those days, and it's kind of crazy and wild to hear your
oh, cool.
voice from when I'm 54. When I was 20 years old, I'm hearing my voice. It's bizarre.
Spooky.
I was a pretty
Yeah.
cool dude. Anyway, it's like, man, that's cool, man.
Sweet.
But but there's so many like things that echo through the years. I even see myself today. Like I was at that stage of my life, I was trying to figure out who I was, and I wanted to pursue art. How am I going to do that? How am I going to support myself? Am I going to go to school? Am I going to do this? But I was constantly iterated on all these different ideas, even on these tapes, right? I'm thinking about all these ideas. I'm throwing it out there. The next tape, I would have different ideas, but I was trying
Mhm,
to figure out the roadmap, the art, the architecture around, what I was going to do and how I was going to do it and the goods, the bad. And I do the same thing today in my business, and I do it like I said, I don't maybe not in a structured way I should, but I think maybe just intuitively, I'm always trying to improve, and I probably give that to my team more. Like I don't even do like a hardcore KPIs with my team. I just like if I know if they're delivering, I know if they got issues, and we deal with them, and we have meetings and all that stuff. But I'm always iterating. I'm always thinking about, okay, I tried that. What's the next thing? What's the plan? What's the next move?
mhm.
And measuring, what went right, what went wrong. So that's something I've kind of done on my, but I feel like that's probably something you're doing. It sounds like you're kind of,
Yeah, it sounds
saying,
like, I mean, there's just a bunch of different ways to ground yourself in reality and look at the facts, the KPIs, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a journal, whether it's an audio, like, so I think I'm just a big fan of having some mechanism to reflect the ugly truth about, just maybe your product, or about the revenue, about the quality of service that you're offering, and just having a way to face it,
yeah,
especially since I think we're both solo, right? So as a solo, it's just really easy to not do that in ways I don't think you could if you're in a partnership or you had a board, or like those
oh
are
right,
kind of
yeah,
just built in for you.
yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the things I will do is I use ClickUp, um, like brainstorming boards, but I'll also have idea boards, like where we can where I will put in things like we should do this, or this is our next feature, or this is our next, or this is how we can improve this, or this is where we went wrong, and have notes in there about
Hmm.
that. So I try to capture things like that, but it's not hyper. organized. But
What made you all of a sudden start back up with the art since after so long?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We were talking about that a little bit beforehand. No, so I've always done, like I said, going back to these audio journals, which is really bizarre. I would recommend. Well, it's bizarre and I'm on the fence if it's good.
Mm,
Listening to yourself because it's weird because you get them. I almost get emotional listening to those because I was
mm,
going through so much at the time, and it's almost like you're there, especially if
mm,
it's detailed. It's like you're hearing your own voice. This is you. It's like, oh my gosh. But I really pursued art a lot in the 90s. I had a goal of hitting 100 canvases, paintings. I got to that mid 90s and I was selling. I had a couple art shows commissioned, never making a full-time living at it, but I was selling. And then around, I don't know, later in the 90s, I decided to go back to school for business. I was tired of the struggle and
mm.
I just didn't feel like I was ready to build a life with some money in it. And I had been bartending that whole time. I was a bartender. How I supported my work. But it never left. I've done it off and on over the years. Well, sometimes, various months here and there where I'd start doing it. But then the internet stuff came along and a lot of my creativity went into it. So even like web design development, there's a lot of creativity in that. I think that satisfied me for quite a few years, just building a business and building websites and designing things. And so I think that really satisfied, and that satisfied the tech itch too, because I'm kind of a techie guy underneath the surface. But then recently I just was like, I was going through this. I was going through some boxes in the basement. I have boxes with old memories in it and stuff. And then I was doing, I found these journals and I started listening to these journals. And through this whole process, I'm like, you know what? Somebody had got me for Christmas like 8 years ago. I had asked for an art kit.
Hmm.
And it was for pencil. It was pencil charcoal. There's Conte in it. Um, but it would stayed in the box this whole time, the last 8 years. And because at the time I was probably like, maybe I want to do, mess around a little bit. And I decided to pull that out and I started sketching. And in fact, I got it behind me here. There it is. See?
Oh, that looks cool.
There you go.
I like the colors. Sweet.
Look at
Wow.
all of those.
Look at all
That's
that.
that is like heaven for an
That's
artist. Okay.
legit.
But and I don't. I just started doing it. I started thinking like I think of my life in arcs, right? Like I've had back then when I was that 20-year-old wanting to do art, I didn't really have a lot of life experience at that time. And I didn't have a lot, like I was just, I was kind of a brainiac. Well, I was like into philosophy and all this other stuff. I was like, that's I won't get into everything that I was doing creatively, but I've always kind of had it in me. And I think I started tapping into that and I started just playing around with it. And I'm like, I'm looking at the arc of my life. I'm like, you know what? I can just justify the last 30 years. I haven't done much art. And just like that's where I went to get the life experience. And so now I have
Mm,
all of that to pull from and be
mhm.
creative with. And yeah, pretty cool. If I between now and I'm 90 years old, I create a lot of art and kind of finish that vision because I think it's important and like just for you, it's same with you. Like I want to do something meaningful in my life. That was one of the things I struggled with when I was 20.
Mhm.
Was I didn't want to just because I actually tried to sell Encyclopedia Britannica. That was when they were physical books.
Mm.
I was trying to be a salesman because I could make money at it, but it never fulfilled me. I never really sell that much. but I did all these jobs. I was going job to job and I just wasn't satisfied. And you want to do meaningful work. Do you think like, are you kind of in that same mindset? Do you think about that at all? Or are
Oh,
you,
yeah. I'm big on that too, to a fault. Yeah, I think we're all called to do some kind of work, and, it's affirming, like, when I saw your article about the sketchbook, I was like I related to that because I have things where I wanted it earlier. it didn't work out, and then I'm like, "Okay, I should just give up and, move on and grow up," but, like, a part of me still wants it, and
Yeah.
I don't think that goes away, and, I feel like a duty to finish what I started or to reserve some time or just to listen to that part of you which, wants to spend your time meaningfully and create things that are important to you. So, I do believe in that. I don't think it's always art or tech or it's different for everyone, but I think
Yeah.
I think everyone has that thing.
That thing in them. Yeah. And I think that, I've met a lot of people over the years. I got a good friend, Dolan, who's been on this podcast. He's always for the last 30, 40 years, he's done music on the side. And he's been
Mhm.
in corporate Fortune 500 companies and done all this. He's been CEO. Now he's coaching. He's a little bit older than us, but
Okay.
he's done a lot in his life, but always had music. He's got a friend he's made music with and wrote music with all these years.
Wow.
But that's the thing. But he's found a way to fit that into his life. And that's
Mhm.
why I feel now. See, back in the 90s, it's different now. Like back in the 90s, I was trying to make a living doing it. I was envisioning my life. I was the next Picasso, right? I was going to
Mhm.
be, the guy that was
High
good. This
bar.
was going to be my life, right?
Yeah.
And but now I just want like I found my thing with web design development. I enjoy what I do. I'm making money, but now so maybe art can find a space next to that. And maybe eventually years from now, that's all I do is art. But I feel like now it can kind of live besides that. It can still be because it's still and it can be that music like music is to him, like
Mhm.
art can be to me, and I can do it on this. That's my vision right now. That's what I'm trying to start to do, and that doesn't mean I'm not going to try to sell art or anything like that. But right now, I'm just trying to. I'm feeling it out. I'm thinking a lot about style and what I'm going to create and all that, and it's exciting because when you love something, it's almost a little scary because I see my brain starting to light up again, like all these
Mhm.
ideas. I mean, because this is like really is like that really is my thing. But what's your thing?
Yeah, that's inspiring. For me, I'll show you one similar one. I always have this next to me. It's a notebook. So notebooks, this is a specific type of notebook, the bullet journal. There's a whole method, but it's really just a set of techniques on like how to structure your notebook. And this type of notebook that I really like, it's dotted grid. And what I liked about the dots is it lets you combine the art and the science. So how I use it is I will like in the front, I'll do my to-dos and tasks and ideas for what I'm working on. And then on the second half of it, I'll doodle, I'll do like diagrams, architecture stuff connecting ideas between things I'm reading. Like it's an outlet for me to be like creative, but also feel like I'm being kind of productive and synthesizing all the stuff that's coming at me away from the computer since I have to be at the computer for so much of my work.
Right,
So if
right.
I spend like 15 minutes in that thing a day, like I'm happy. It was a good day. I felt like, I was like I got something out of it. So that's
So
like the
you
day-to-day version of the art for me. It's just some kind of doodle or note or thing I'm writing on.
in journals, do you like date everything and like? Because I
Oh yeah.
imagine like for me, it's like one of the things. So I have an archive in my basement of all my sketchbooks, and I had
Oh,
lots of notebooks, and I got a notebook right here that I'm starting to put ideas in.
nice.
um, but it's like some of them I'm like mad at myself because I didn't put dates on them. It's like I'm
Mm.
trying to like I love timelines. Like I'm trying to like reconstruct my life, my time. Like when did I do that art, or when did I record that thing, or and it's really cool to look back at that stuff. And you may not think 30. It's funny in one of my audio journals. So I would talk to myself in the future.
Mhm.
And I said, when you listen to this 10 years, 20 years, 50 years down the road, I said, if you only knew, it was like 35 years, you were close, you were in the range. But it's so wild. And you don't think that time goes like that, you know? Sorry
How
if I
did
just
you
did
do
that
the
loud.
audio notes? Was it like a minute a day or once in a while? How'd you
Oh, no.
structure it?
So the time frame I'm doing right now, and there was a particular time frame that I did it like a lot. And it was from August 91 through January of 93. It was about a year and a half. I did about 16, I have 16 tapes front and back,
Wow.
filled up, 45 minutes on each side. And I would sit there and I would riff for like 45 minutes.
Whoa.
Sometimes few of them were like later ones. I think the earlier ones I talk more. But later ones I would be a little more chopped up, where it would be like one side would be like 3 or 4 different days, several days apart. But yeah, I would just sit and just talk about whatever's on my mind, like stream of consciousness. Like I
Hmm.
just talking about, and I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about relationships, bad relationships, whatever, relationship issues, or friends, what I'm doing with my friends, and then it was all a lot about my job and thinking about art and all that stuff. But yeah, that was
You
it.
were podcasting early, yeah, just to
Right.
yourself. That's cool.
Actually, my VA, I have a VA. We were talking about that the other day, where because I have to keep her up on the content I'm putting out there and why I'm doing it. But and she said something like, you were like something similar, like like I was like practicing, like I was
Yeah,
practicing my talking. And
yeah,
I would just talk like I'm doing now.
that's so cool. Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
big
So,
fan of documenting your life. My father, when I turned 30, he gave me his notebook for when he was 30,
oh
and that
wow,
blew my mind because
that is cool.
I felt like I was, like, friends with him, like, we were peers, and I saw how we him and I were different at this age, and, so, yeah, I'm doing it with the notebook, with the YouTube stuff, with writing, but, yeah, I'm a big fan. Even you don't have to post it publicly, but I think it's so
Yeah.
cool to just look back at that.
Oh, it's amazing, and it's weird, and probably wrap it up here, but I feel like I talk all day with you. But one of the things that I realized, I'm listening to a lot. I'm listening on hours of myself talk, right? And I made it a whole thing, right? These are all on old cassette tapes, and they're not great quality
Mhm.
at this stage,
Yeah,
35 years later. And so I'm digitizing them,
good.
cleaning them up in Adobe Premiere, and then turning them into transcripts. So I'm going through
Mm,
all that. But through all this effort, I'm starting to see that guy, that 20-year-old guy, is like he's a part of, like he was me, but he's not. Like I feel like I've created a character. Like I'm talking to him, and I
mm.
was going through an exercise where I was like imagining him here, like looking like, look what we did. This is what we're doing. He'd be like, "That's so cool,
Yeah,
so
that's
cool,
really
we did it."
cool. Wow.
So you almost, it's weird. It's like a, because we change over our lives. I'm a very different human than I was when I was 20, and you will be too, right? But that thing with your dad, that's awesome. That's very cool. That had to been a trip.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, that was big.
yeah. Well, anyway, so we got off on a tangent there but that's really cool. I think I feel like I'll be talking about journaling more just because of this, and
Yeah,
in the
man.
future, because it's a
Big
cool
fan.
thing.
Big
Yeah.
fan.
Um, so if somebody wants to learn more about what you do, where can they find your projects, find your product, or where can they reach out to you on the World Wide Web?
tylerdane.com. That'll have my links all over. So tylerdane.com.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no other Tyler Danes.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, there are, but not with the domain.
You got the domain.
Not there do
It's
not
it's
to
something to
get
be
to a
proud of.
domain.
Like I got mattlevenhagen.com, like, but there's not that many Matt Levenhagens out there.
Oh, okay.
And plus I'm an early, like I feel really special about, I don't, we'll leave it at this, but I feel really special about a couple of my social medias where it's like Facebook, Levenhagen. And I think I
Ooh,
got the same for LinkedIn, Levenhagen. But it's like
yeah,
I'm like the Levenhagen in the
that's
whole world.
prime prime
How
real
many
estate.
I
Yeah,
know how many Levenhagens are jealous of me for having
probably a lot. Yeah.
All right. Well, Tyler, it was great talking to you. I'd love to have you back again someday. Just kick it around, what you're doing, and keep track of what you're doing
Totally.
over time. But it was real fun. Until next time.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Builders Podcast. One more quick note about our sponsors. At Unified Web Design, we're passionate about doing better together, partnering with agencies and businesses to deliver exceptional web design, development, and ongoing support. And UnifiedLabs.ai is where we explore smart, practical ways to integrate AI directly into your website and e-commerce flows. From intelligent chatbots to marketing automation to back-end reporting, all with a strong focus on user experience and making your systems work smarter. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, sharing it with someone who might benefit helps us grow this amazing community. Until next time, keep building smarter, bolder, and with purpose.